My name is Lana Labonte, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my living room. I am here to support, uplift, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you are meant to be. Hi, Mish. How are you tonight? So, all right, we got a lot on the plate, right? So what we have this new moon in Pisces. We got a lot of this energy stirring. Basically, the earth is quaking and it is breaking and bringing to the surface all the stuff that is basically a mirror of our human existence. We are all being shaken to the core, right? So I spoke about this in my last video. And what has been coming up for me and the things that I have been reflecting upon is how much we've been disempowered. We've been led to believe that everything is being done to us, that it's happening outside of us, that we have no control over anything, that it's predictive programming, that the movies tell us what's going to happen. I'm here to break and dispel those disbeliefs, those untruths, because ultimately, those are lies in themselves. And when you tap into your body's wisdom, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it's just like back in the day, people relied upon being told what the truth was, told what history was, told what God was. This whole, I can't trust myself. And so if you really look at the world, it's a mere reflection of ourselves. And all the stuff you don't want to work on or look at in yourself, the confrontation of your own shit, causes you to witness all the shit around you that is really a part of you too. Now, I can tell you, most people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that that stuff they don't like is a part of them, or is even that it has anything to do with them. Like, oh no, that can't possibly be. Or that, why does God let bad things happen to good people? Based on whose idea of good? Because what you see on the surface is one thing, and what's going on below the surface is a whole other thing. People put on the mask to keep you from seeing their truth, and you do it too. I am here to subscribe and admit my own self. If you don't spot it, you got to spot it. Because when you spot it, you got it. What you witness in another and what you try to call out or point a finger to is really within you. Remember, you're pointing a finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back, just like a loaded gun. You better be careful where you point that gun, because when that trigger comes back, it's going to ricochet back at you. Mirror, mirror on the wall. It's not just that person, it's you too, So we have to be more mindful. This year is all about discernment. It's about tapping into your truth. And what you recognize as your truth, doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's up to you to own it. It's nobody else's business either. You don't have to go, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad person because I'm the shadow side of myself. We're not here to confess our sins. That's a whole paradigm shift. Because what happens when you tell things that are weaknesses of yourself? The weaker people will take that and run and use it against you. So you got to be discerning about the people you share your energy with, the people you share your innermost intimate details with. We want to believe the best in everyone. We want to see the best in another because we want that for ourselves. That is the standard golden rule. Do unto others as I want to be done unto me, right? It's about forgiveness now. No. If you have to forgive, you are assuming something was wrong to begin with. I have a whole belief around forgiveness. Forgiveness is part of the disempowering too. It's just the recognizing your belief around it that is what you need to confront. Because in all essence, everything's forgiven. It's all divine. It's all perfect as it is. It was just designed to get your attention to see the imbalance in life. There is no forgiveness necessary when it boils down to it. But that comes with all the stages and the cycles of our lives to where we really go, wow, the idea that I have to forgive means that something was wrong to begin with, or that forgiveness is assuming, you know what, an ass out of you and me, assuming that something wasn't right in the, as it was happening. Everything's just divine. It's just owning and accepting and allowing. It's not forgiveness, it's accepting. It's seeing things for how they are. They are what they are. So anyway, this is the world we're living. This is the time. The theme is discernment. Going within for your own truth. Everything you're going to start to see around you, as you, if you couldn't have already seen, like, it's a shit show, as some would call. My girlfriend sent me a message. She goes, it's a shit show. She's like, excuse me for saying so. I said, it's true. It's a clown show. It's all the world's a stage. You got to remember something. Everything outside of you is designed to take you from within you. Literally take from within you. And where your attention goes, energy flows. So the whole purpose of this particular video is I want you to consider just planting some seeds here. I'm not here to tell you this is the truth. I'm not to tell you that this isn't the truth. This is something that has come into me for years. I have always wondered. Back in the day when they didn't have TV, they had gladiators, they had theater. Again, they were always entertaining the masses with some form of entertainment, take them, distract them, focus over here so you don't see what they're doing over here. They've been using this for time immemorial. Where we're at right now is we've got more coming at us because we've got so much technology, so much media, you know, enter the mind. It's all about infiltrating your mind. You know why? Because we are the powerful ones. We are technically the elites. But, ooh, if we call ourselves that, that's so, you know, egotism, egotistical. It's like, wait a minute here. Then why are we calling other people who, you know, with a connotation or an arrogance or frustration around it? Like, pay attention to the words you choose and the spells you're casting, because ultimately everything that is going on within us is being shown to us. And if you're not owning the stuff within you, it will show up outside of you. We need to be able to discern, what is my truth? Something outside of you may rub you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, because right now I truly believe, and I've written down a whole lot of notes over the past week, all the stuff that's dropped in. I feel the spell has been broken. And when I say spell, I mean the spell that was cast over humanity to keep the veil of truth from being seen, from, you know, not being able to peer behind the curtain and see what was really going on with the big old great Oz. Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Guess what? We may not know who the man behind the curtain is or whatever that is, but we know there's a curtain and we know there's something going on behind it. You can't discount it. You can't deny it. You feel it. Now, what humanity is going through right now is the discomfort of the knowing of the untruths. The recognizing that everything that you thought you knew to be true was a lie. And that whole cognitive dissonance, that whole, I don't want to believe it, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to actually own, or I don't want to see it, you know, wait a minute. I want to stay in my comfortable bubble. Don't upset the apple cart, you know, like go along to get along. You know, all that old patriarchy, all that old Piscean age. We're in a new age. We're still moving into it. We're still trying to get comfortable in our own skin. Like I say, most adults are running around just like monkeys, throwing their shit and their unmet childhood needs at one another, trying to get them met through the other person. And the truth of the matter is, we're all trying to do the best we can with the unmet childhood needs, the traumas. If you're still in stress response, you're still in that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you're triggered by anything and everything around you, that's showing you your work to do. That is your unresolved stuff. You can call it doing the work, shadow work, healing. Although I don't believe in healing, I just feel it's remembering, reclaiming. Who am I? That question should be a constant for you. Sitting in meditation, who am I? I'm not my color. I am not my creed. I am not my gender. I am not my this, that, or the other label. Every label is a limitation. Every label is about separation. You know why this world is considered a trap? I won't call it a prison because I don't think it's a prison. I think we came here willingly. I don't necessarily think it's a school so much as experience, but I also do believe it is a game of finding your way back to your truth and your divinity, that we are navigating through the maze. Everything you came in knowing as a young child, we're trying to remember that. We're trying to reclaim that. When I was younger, I remember a lot of the naivete I had. But as I got older, I had a lot of unconscious programming that kind of created some grooves. And the deeper the groove, the harder it is to unlearn it. But we can do that. We are capable. We are powerful. And we haven't been given the true appreciation for the powerful manifestation creations that we have all around us. Yes, our energy has been hijacked and harnessed and focused in the direction of what some would want us to believe, do, say, speak, act. Because as I go back to the media is all about getting you to focus over here. Because the more we get more people, it's power in numbers, people. Focus on this agenda. Watch a movie. How many people have seen that movie? Oh my gosh, it's just like that movie. And it's no different than reading the Bible and quoting scriptures and acting like it's the whatever. And to me, that's disempowering. Why? Which do you think came first? The book is a story. It's a group of allegories. Do we know that it's true? We have no proof. Only what we've been told. The movies are fake too. But then people base it in this whole, well, they're telling us, they're predictively programming us to, consider this as normal. When in reality, the way I see it, they get enough people to focus on these movies and people dream about them and they keep thinking about them, and where attention goes, energy flows. We're actually manifesting that. That's how powerful we are. And that's where we need to wake up and learn to discern. How much are you putting in? Oh, I just want to watch a movie, chill out. Do you recognize that is unconsciously, subconsciously growing in, and it's creating grooves of beliefs and ideas within you that may not have ever existed in you? And then when you see it outside, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like that movie. Movies, art imitates life, life imitates art. But it can only be manifest with your energy. Doesn't mean it would happen otherwise. It needs your attention to create it, what you anticipate you create. Because how many of these movies are all about the idealistic society? A lot of movies even will, have normalized codependency. Oh, it's all about relationships, and oh, he changed for that other person. I was thinking about that the other day too. I'm like, what hogwash is this? People think that these movies are romances and love stories, when in reality they're codependent nightmares. They're toxic relationships. They're unhealthy circumstances. That you get two people that are magnetized to each other because they both have unmet childhood needs and they're acting out their needs with one another, which is not a bad thing, but they're totally unconscious about it. And then it's the whole, well, you're not being the way I need you to be for me. Okay, well, I'll change just for you because I love you so much. How many of you out there have experienced a person changing for the other person? A person will change when they're ready to change, and not because they claim to love somebody else. Change has to come from within, not a manipulation from the external. That's codependency. That's toxic. So all of this predictive programming is really about harnessing your energy, getting you to focus on the story they want to manifest. Look around the world, all the craziness you see. Oh my gosh, it's just like that movie. How often are you hearing this now? Stop watching TV, stop watching movies. It's kind of like anything else. I wonder, do you think it would manifest? There's a lot of movies I haven't seen, but there are a lot of people who've watched movies just to chill out. But see, this is the thing. There's a lot you don't know about the technology and how it's being used against you. When you watch a movie, they use music to tug at your heartstrings, to get you in suspense, to get you so caught up in it, like you're living in it. You got 5 senses. You take in data through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your spidey sense of feeling. So when you're watching these movies, they're tugging at you. They're feeding you data through your 5 senses. Do you know the real true way of manifesting isn't just think it, believe it, it happens. It is not the, what I focus on is all going to happen if I do all these affirmations. No, it's about the feeling sense more than anything. The 5 senses are your feelings. It's taking it in. And then on top of all that, they got all sorts of very low vibrational. Kind of like if you listen to binaural beats and all that. Well, they feed off those same types of frequencies, and they plant those seeds. There's a lot of subliminal programming through watching movies too that most people won't catch up on. NLP, symbolism, the things you don't really see because it's kind of interwoven into the movie. And then, like I said, you've got these sounds that you don't hear, just like a dog hears whistles that you can't hear. There's so much going on below the surface. So the question is, at what point are you going to wake up to your power, to reclaim it, to acknowledge that where your attention is going, you're actually being hijacked and they're harnessing it, and you are a part of the manifestation of what is happening around. I am right here with you. So I know it because I am it. I've seen it in my own life. That the more I focused on something, the more I try to avoid something. See, that's a part people don't understand. Everybody thinks the power of manifestation, the law of attraction is if I focus just on what I want, while ignoring the demoting belief systems that are saying that you don't feel worthy of it, that it's not going to happen, and what makes you think that's going to happen. That is not the truth. The truth is where attention goes, energy flows, conscious or unconscious. Just because you want it doesn't make it available to you. Because if you got a demoting belief around wanting something and then you not feeling worthy of it, and you're not going to have that, your mind doing the whole, look at you trying to manifest something that what makes you so special. You may have this kind of dialogue going on in your mind. They know this. Whatever you feed the 5 senses, it gets stored into your cellular memory, into your being. If you are so into a movie, a sports event, oh my gosh, that's the biggest one right there. It's no different than watching the gladiators in Rome, and it turns into this whole spectacle as if you're in it and that you're a part of it. When you are so deep into your sensations, most people don't even harness that much energy into their lives. But yes, it's called lushing. That's one other term, but it's a hijacking, it's a harnessing, it's a feeding, harvesting your energy, your data, all of it. Because you are an energetic being with frequencies and harmonizing with the world. But what are you harmonizing with? So that's where we really need to pay attention. We pay attention is focused energy. That's your currency feeding the situation. And so therefore you're paying for that experience energetically, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Unless you reclaim yourself and your actual power, you're going to continue to unconsciously just give it away. So they know, because when you are present in the moment, which is a form of meditation, focused attention, single-minded focus. When you sit down and watch a movie, a sporting event, a concert, whatever it is, when you're there, that's where all your power resides, and they know it. So they're just like going, yeah, literally, as you pay for it, feeding your currency. It's not your future or your past. See, that's the thing I talk about the most, is that you get most hijacked by fragmenting and spreading, energy in the past and the future. But the reality is, when you are in that present moment and you are feeding that movie, reading that book, feeding that story, the Bible and all the verses and all the revelations and the second coming and the end of the world, like I've always kind of been like, I was a child of the Catholic upbringing. And something about me has always sensed that is about harnessing the energy. You know how many Christians there are in the world that know these stories? They don't know the true meanings behind the allegories or the fact that what came first, predictions or the harnessing of your attention to create that into reality. I'm sure it's probably a very controversial subject because it means taking personal accountability and responsibility for your attention, your focus. And most people just want to check out. But when you check out and then you turn on a TV or even your social media and you start following things, you're feeding it your energy. You're giving it away freely. And then so many people are wondering why they're miserable or why they're depressed, because their energy's been pressed, taken, stolen, but given freely. We're all doing it to some degree. And this is why this year is going to be all about, can you discern from the truth or the theater? In 2020, when I started seeing things, I caught myself getting very, literally tugged into it and getting upset. Why? Because I care. I'm a human. That's natural. But my unresolved stuff is what got triggered. The injustices of the world, abuses, all of that stuff came up for me. And I'm like, we have to stop this. We need to do something about this. Yeah? You know what the best thing to do is? Stop feeding it. Unless you are 100% involved in a movement, or you see it and you are a part of those organizations that can do something. Not everybody is meant to be in the trenches. But see, that's something each person has to discern. And don't feel like you're doing the wrong thing if you're not doing what you think everybody else is doing. That's another hijacking. This comparison, comparing yourself to what others are doing. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. Or, that's a big conversation right now. Like, why am I feeling depressed? Slowing down. We are still in the winter. We have not sprung into spring yet. The winter is the dark, deep reflection going within, slowing down. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling uneasy because their stuff is really getting stirred with everything they're seeing around them. The fact that we're getting poisoned from every which direction. I mean, what are we going to do about this? There is a certain level of like, yeah, we do need to speak up and step up, but it's in a community form. Because the government doesn't, I mean, let's just face it. All the rules for us, rules for thee and not for me. Everything has been designed to suppress us. We think we have protection. The reality is it's actually submissive suppression. It's about keeping us under the thumb. I know so well because that's what I experienced when I was in the military. Having someone over you who wants to control you because it gives them a rush. They get off on that. That is literally an addiction in itself. But the way the world is running right now is the very few who were supposed to be there to represent us are trying to rule over us. Under the guise of, we're here to take care of you. Yeah, those are the worst words. you want to ever hear in your life. We're here to take care of you. We're here to help govern over the mind. We have a mental health issue right now. We have a crisis going on because the average person is in chronic stress, under trauma response. So you got cortisol running and pumping through your veins. It's like an animal that has been on high alert, just on the defense, just trying to get by. Keep people so distracted trying to get by, to just get by and survive. They won't be able to thrive. They won't realize that is their birthright. That the gift of this world and this life was meant to be you being the best version of you. Not feeling like you're enslaved or imprisoned into a system that doesn't serve you. So, I meant to ask if my volume was good because my mic is... But I just, I feel like it's really important that we really confront whatever is coming up for ourselves right now. Because if we're not healing our internal world, it's just going to make the external world look worse. Because what you're not working on yourself will show up around you. And when we are... It just got louder. Okay, good. That means it probably wasn't plugged in all the way. I was watching Michael Mirdad the other day, and I always love listening to him because he speaks my language. A lot of times I feel like I'm hearing things I was thinking about out loud, and it's powerful because it just shows me how connected we truly all are. That when I have a theme that pops in my meditation for the day or the next couple days, it just keeps showing up around me. And that just shows how connected we are on the collective. One of the things he reminded me is dogma. And I talk about dogma, belief systems. Dogma is unquestioned belief. Think about that. People who just accept things as they're being told. Never researching, never questioning, never going, hey, is that even true? That is dogma. It's being blindly led. Time is the biggest dogma because everything revolves around this idea and concept of time. So this was a good one too, because projection, pointing a finger out, leads to perception. And the world I perceive is based on what I believe. I really appreciated this one because, let's say that again. Projection, what you see out in the world, what you think you see it is your perception. It is you projecting out onto another what is going on within you. The things you don't like in someone else are in you too. But you're not confronting them in yourself. A lot of times people are acting it out and pointing the finger at someone else, the things they don't like about themselves. And what is that? That's a judgment on yourself. And that's you breaking your own heart, but using someone else as a scapegoat for it. A judgment on another is a judgment upon yourself. So anytime you're projecting, anytime you're blaming or shaming, claiming someone is doing something to you, that's assuming that you are free of sin and free of problems and that you're perfect. And that doesn't exist. So again, projection leads to perception. That is the world I perceive based on what I believe. And anytime you're projecting, and he went deeper on this, you're spewing hate. And that's the truth. What is it? We point fingers at others because we don't want to own that the hate is for ourselves. We don't like something in another because we don't like it in ourselves. But nobody really wants to say, hey, I am that too. When you got a finger pointing out, you got three pointing back at you. Be humble enough to recognize, wow, oh my gosh. What about that person that I dislike resides in me? Can I own that too? Because again, when you own your shit, it doesn't own you. And then you don't end up acting a fool when you're doing the projection thing because you won't be projecting. When you do recognize it in another and you own it in yourself, it's humbling.
It makes you become more compassionate, because what you see in another wants compassion from you within you. It only shows up in another for you to recognize it in you. Wow, right? Big one. So, whatever we project onto others is what we will also experience. Now think about that. This is also the manifestation of our focused energy I was just talking about. What we anticipate, we create. So what does that mean? How often have we held others hostage to the idea that they're always that way? You know, that's a form of prison. Basically, you hold a person to be the worst version of themselves, which is, again, the worst version of you, and then you proceed to use that against them and attack them? Maybe that person would show up differently if you didn't hold that negative, icky, sticky, yucky vibe. The assumption that you know how they're going to behave, the assumption that you think this worst version of them, that when you're holding that worst version of them in your mind's eye, it's like daggers, but you're actually anticipating and creating it at the same time. See, I told you, that's the ego. That's the mind. The mind wants to be right. The heart, it knows your heart. And then you feel those twangs. How often have you had that happen where you're like, ugh, that doesn't feel so good? Because the body's telling on the mind. The body is saying, you know, we didn't need to do that. That poor person had no idea what they had coming to them. You know, have you ever experienced someone saying something and feeling like, wow, I felt like they were going to say that, but was it because they really did say it? Or did you unconsciously anticipate and manifest them to do it? My mother was really good at doing that with me. There were times she somehow could pull a word out of me that I never used. And after she'd get upset and hang the phone up on me, I'd be like, whoa, she have any idea that wasn't in me? She somehow created that out of me because of the energetic imprint she had at that moment, that vibration, that currency she was focused on. And she was paying for that experience through me. And we do it quite often, mostly unconscious. We can do it consciously, and we can flip that switch and create the better version of our lives. But see, because we have such a dualistic, polarizing existence in this life, this world is about duality. When things are polarized, you can either retract, you can also, you can end up pushing things away, or you can magnetize and draw them to you. So it's either repelling or attracting, right? What is it you want to choose? Most of us want to be attracting, right? And we attract where we're at. So if we are not conscious of where we're at, then it's always a surprise when it comes at us, isn't it? So we really need to be more focused on, where am I at? That I'm attracting that. You know, family is the hardest one. And the reason I bring family up is because when I spend time with my family, I catch myself in those old patterns. I don't want to be a nasty person. I don't want to get upset. I don't want to be, condescending. I don't want to be attacking. That's not my nature. My nature is to be uplifting, to bring things up out of the person that is the best version of them. So what I'd like to do more of is be more compassionate. So I do this. It's easier for me to do it on the phone, because I spent the day yesterday with my dad, and there are moments he gets into a little bit of a little itchy, little bitchy, goes into a certain type of, hamster wheel. And I'm like, Dad, you're really exhausting yourself. Your blood pressure, I can hear it in your voice. But if you saw my little short, he's so adorable when he puts music on he loves. Like Dream Lover by Mariah Carey. My dad's over there singing with it. I'm just like, my heart's all tickled. That makes me happy, is when he's in those moments. And I will foster that as much as I can. But if you know that talking about something that basically feeds the negative fuel, creates that, environment of, great example, we talk about different things that are happening in the world, in this country, and how much things have changed. And my dad, and I was like this too, where it's so easy that once you start, it gets that ball rolling, that fire just gets fueled more. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, okay, we need to take this down. There are certain people who have it in their design to criticize. If you know that, be really attentive to how you introduce a conversation, because you got to be mindful of the energy you bring into the space. I have to catch myself every once in a while. I'll talk about, how things are going with my renovation, or how I'm waiting on, quotes, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then maybe something comes up, man, this country and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I got to be careful about how I continue that or change the subject to something that's going to be more uplifting. When you go into the space of fear, the space of criticism, it's just as equally opportunistic and available to you to flip the switch and start to recognize, wow, even despite all that, I'm really grateful. You know why? I got a roof over my house, a roof over my head. I own my home. Like I try to remind my dad this, and we're all doing the best we can with what we have. Look at how beautiful your life is, that you don't have to worry about food, or you can afford to buy things. Yeah, price is going up on a lot of things right now. They have been. And people are anticipating it because what have they been doing? They've been telling you it's going to happen. It's being orchestrated. I'm over here and I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, I don't even want to think about that. You know why? Because I can afford it and I'm worth it. So it's okay. My heart, it sends out prayers and blessings to those who can't, that they find a way. Because we have so much more than we recognize and are grateful for, than the bickering. It doesn't serve us. If anything, again, it's serving another agenda. So I don't believe in the negative programming, because it's all duality. It's all part of this world in the design of, it's not your truth. The negative is not your truth. Sometimes you just get hijacked into the idea that you need to give it your attention. You're not obligated to feed it. In fact, it's time to start starving all of that. Turn it off. Turn off the noise, as we say. Disengage. Unplug. It's time to focus on and confront that the spell has been broken. That we are such powerful manifestors. Right now, what we are facing as a collective, the discomfort of the untruths. It's not your truth. And so many of us have been living it for so long. We've been living out these lies. That we have to break through the cognitive dissonance. The people around you, you're witnessing like, wow, they're waking up. Yeah, you know what? They had to get so uncomfortable. Oh, I have a lot of compassion for that one. To get so uncomfortable because you didn't recognize it, or you were turning a blind eye to it because you were in your comfort zone. And a lot of people don't like confrontation because there's pain in that. But you know what? Change, it's discomfort, choices that we have, that we make. The only way we grow is to also chase the pain and to go through it and not try to avoid or go around it. We can't suppress it because eventually we will express it. So we're all waking up to the contradictions we've been living, that what we've formerly been told, adopted as our beliefs, and have always assumed to be true, never was ours to take on. All these stories, all these lies. From the moment we're born, we're told this, we're told that. Families and legacies of abuse here, and this race here wasn't treated properly, and this color, this, that. And we're not colors, we're not races, we're humans. And ultimately, we all want the same thing. When we buy into the victimhood stories, we disempower each other. The best thing we could do is empower one another and see each other's strengths and hold them in them. Reclaiming that. So this is the polarity that exists. We're being pushed, we're being pulled, we're attracting, we're repelling. We've just taken on the polar opposite of our own truth. And we're now feeling how this has affected us because of our extreme discomfort. That is the discomfort, is recognizing how much we feel fucked up and fucked over. How about that? Sucks. Ooh. Yeah, it's a reality. We all in some way, shape, or form feel like we've been kind of like poked and provoked and, you know, stuck to. We all got some story. But are we going to be stuck in the story? Or are we going to rise from the flames just like the rising phoenix? You know? Rebirth, this is what this time is us coming out of this winter to be reborn again, to be renewed, reclaimed, re-empowered. So this is what's being revealed in the collective consciousness, the discomfort of the untruth. Some know this, some feel it, some can discern it, and others only know something isn't right for them and in them. Like even from the time I was a child, I knew something wasn't right. My mom would say it all the time. But because I felt that strong connection to source, to the divine that I always carried with me through my life, it's allowed me to see patterns and connect dots and recognize things and trust my instinct sometimes after the fact. Because 9 times out of 10, we were all told, you don't know what you're talking about, you're crazy. What you think you see, what you think you feel. You know, we were disempowered to even trust our intuition. How many of you out there are like, oh, I knew something wasn't right. I felt it in my gut. Your enteric nervous system, which is where you feel all the goodies, all the truths, all the gifts that are you. The truth is within you. And you have to feel it, or it's not your truth. Even as a young child, I knew something was conflicting, but it didn't affect me until I got older, okay? So I asked a lot of questions, and that caused me a lot of adversity. I had a lot of issues with authority figures because they get shot down, right? And so people in authority positions don't like being questioned, especially about questions they don't know the answers to, because they don't see it as the question being the problem, but they see it as a threat to them because they don't have the answer to that question. And that they themselves would never question the question. But just like dogma, it's an unquestioned belief system that they feel the need to defend it despite the fact that they don't even know why. That's a trauma response in itself. It's the Stockholm syndrome too, because if you think about it, you're defending a belief that you don't even know why. Yeah, I know. Same here with the intuition and the premonitions. Oh, tell that to somebody else. I don't want to hear that stuff. And it would freak people out, right? Yeah. But all of that stuff is unconscious, right? Again. So they were operating, these people that in authority figures, they operate from a trauma response because they can't unwind their own programming. And so somebody who is in the strength of being able to ask the question, they see that as a personal attack, even though it isn't. Because the question isn't about them, but they see it as such. So this is where the collective is waking up to the unresolved trauma. For a long time, we've been under this spell of lies that's kept us small and controllable. Now the spell is broken. That is my sense, and this is what I've been feeling for the past week, is whoa, the spell's been broken because people are seeing through. The people you didn't realize or didn't think would even wake up are waking up. It's almost like the train's getting derailed and off the tracks. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people who got back on track as a result of that. Fires, coincidences. There's a certain point where, you know, there's this is too coincidental, even for the person who would never connect those dots. That's when I say the spell has been broken. It's just like having the shackles removed. When animals are enslaved for so long, their entire lives, and then they're released out into the wild again, they don't know how to live. This is humans. We're all going through that. That's kind of pretty much where we're at. So we get woken up to this, and think of the animal. It's like they either want to return they've returned to their cages because they want to stay close to what they know. Humanity is going through this right now because so many have been comfortable in their conditioning that they don't know any other way. Whew. But believe it or not knowing doesn't make it a bad thing. But the mind sees not knowing as a threat, sees not knowing as worst case scenario, and starts digging into the archives of the worst case scenarios of what has happened in the past. Again, it doesn't make it true or real. This is the rumbling and discomfort so many are experiencing right now. It is the grieving of what they know that was not true, in a true alignment with their soul self. Grieving the past and everything you knew or thought you knew. And like a fish out of water going, well, what is true? Like, that's very disparaging. That's scary. Being stuck in that impasse, that the in-between, the meta, the in-between. Like, what is going on here? How do I handle this? So this is such a powerful time, and everybody is literally being cracked wide open, just like the earth is quaking and the crust is breaking. It's like the spell being broken, and that's what's coming to surface are the legacies of programs that never aligned with our true soul self. Again, we are in a situation where, because we've been living the same lives for so long, it's like the elephant that was with the shackle to the ankle, that if you remove it, they still behave as if it was on. They don't venture far from where they were shackled. People are unaware of the unconscious programs they've been driven by, and now they're dissolving. Have compassion, have patience with yourself and others right now. Every human is waking up to the deception, that the lies they've been living. And this is the cycle of grief. And denials of this grief or these cycles will no longer hold us. It's being demanded of us to face our BS, our belief systems, and adopt a new way forward. Some choose to go kicking and screaming, while some of us recognize this is a natural unfolding of life. So, wanting someone else to show up differently is cognitive dissonance, and chasing isn't allowing them to just be who they are. So if you're still trying to rationalize, hold on to what was meant to be released in relationships and situations, life circumstances, whatever they are, that's a codependency. It's, again, we have been in the most toxic codependent relationship with our governments, thinking that Big Daddy, Big Brother's going to watch over and take care of us, when in reality, it's just been trying to rule over and control us the whole time and get us to do their bidding, pitting us against one another. Whew. Strong stuff. So you may have a good heart, but that doesn't mean you may be able to discern a lot of what's going on. But you need to recognize and be humble that, wow, maybe I don't see things as they are, but I'm actually seeing them as I am. So when we see somebody and think, oh, well, they're a good person, you're creating a story around their whole bad behavior. You're doing that because you wouldn't want somebody to think badly of you. But that's not serving the circumstances or the situation, especially if you're still acting out those traumas. And using Satan as a scapegoat is just a way of not taking personal responsibility and seeing where we ourselves try to manipulate to get our needs met in relationships and such. So I'm going to go back to this again from the start. We are manifesting whatever we focus on. Our energy is powerful. I was at my dad's house on Saturday. I was helping him with some things, and we went to sit down and watch it. Dad's putting on a movie, and I'm like, okay, what's on? I do not like horror. I don't like a lot of the action anymore. I really am selective. Like, I want humor. And even still, it's really hard to find anything decent on anymore. Especially, again, because they're trying to harvest and focus your energy on something. And I recognize that. And I've always kind of felt that way. I'm not in the belief system of, oh, they're telling us, as much as they're trying to get you to regurgitate it and say, see, that's like the movie. And then it's like they have to tell us. Is that the truth? Or is that just another one of those controlled oppositions? Think about it. It's disempowering to think that we have no control and that they're telling us. When in reality, what they're doing is telling us in such a way to make us create it. That's the truth. That's how I see it. That's how I sense it. Because again, they harness on your energy, whether you're going to a music event, which is a low vibration 9 times out of 10. You know, I never understood when I was younger, you know, play the record backwards and it's Satan, it's all of the demonic stuff. And then they used to say how the master records were created in a room doing a satanic ritual to make it famous and get your attention and harvest your energy that way too. I'm like, oh my gosh. At a certain point, it's almost like you don't want to watch anything, you don't want to listen to anything. Go make your own beautiful music. Create your own stories. Write your own books. Write your own movies. Like, it makes you wonder that if we're such powerful manifestors, has anyone ever considered, this is what I said in the beginning, it's not predictive programming, but directing our collective consciousness to create it for them. This is an unpopular mindset, belief, because again, dogma is unconscious and accepting of a belief system without questioning it. It's unquestioned belief. It's literally letting yourself blindly accept something without any proof or any research. And it's not even your truth. You're just allowing it to be told to you. So this is truly what I feel. And I was sitting there watching Dad flip channels and trying to figure something out. And I'm like, wow. I really believe this now more than ever. I'd already sensed it. I'd already been believing it to a certain degree, but this really hit home. So if enough people actually freely allow their attention to focus and flow upon it, they end up creating it. But then, because our culture likes to point fingers elsewhere, rather than taking personal responsibility where most are oblivious to their own power, this is part of the disempowering program. This is part of the disempowering program that's infiltrated humanity. This is part of the spell that's being broken. That the more they can get you to watch it, the more people in numbers, again, that's concentrated energy, that's harvesting. It's a gaslighting those who see and reveal this too. Oh, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just a movie, it's no big deal. Yeah, because you're not consciously watching and picking it out, and you can't see the symbols. You can't hear the subliminal languaging because it's going in through your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. You're probably, sometimes you think you're really in the movie and a part of it. You're playing an extra, but you should be the star of your own movie. People are more quick to insist that there's a coincidence with a movie they watched being predictive, a prediction of the future, predictive programming, that they're telling us what they're doing. That's victimhood mentality if you think about it. It's being done to us. They're just telling us. No. They're actually getting people to focus on it enough to where your energy is harvested and you are creating it. I can't stress this enough. I want to know in the comments after this video, I want to know how many of you actually sit with this and just really sit with it. Like, meditate on it and ask yourself, is this possible? Am I really this powerful? Have I been contributing to this? This could change everything if more people wake up to it. So again, like the Bible, movies tap in more deeply though, and they feed upon us through our 5 senses. The Bible was what was taught by word of mouth for a very long time before anybody could read it. And there's something else. I watched a video by Ewar, the one guy that came out with the Tartaria stuff for a while. And it really made a lot of sense because, you know, when I was raised in the Catholic arena, it was said that the bishops, the priests, priests, all the people in garb in the religion, that they were writing by hand the scriptures, and they weren't allowed to change anything, because everything was written on papyrus, and it was very expensive, and that they weren't allowed to change any words. And if they did, I remembered hearing that they'd have their hands cut off if they did any changes. I don't know. Maybe this is a myth, or maybe that's just an old story, but that's what I remembered hearing. So in this particular documentary that he put together, and this was just like, I don't know, a week or so ago, I was like, this makes sense. He was talking about the book, what was it called? It was the Italians, it was the Romans, you know, probably the Medici. He was talking about the Medici, and some other names. But essentially, the book chasers, what they would do is they would show up and they would find books in certain areas. And these are the same books that were written on papyrus. And then somehow they were able to change, like remove the original, because there was a way you could remove the print, but it stayed kind of like below the surface so that you could actually recreate it and read through it. But they would write different things on top of it. And so they were writing other people into the history that didn't exist. They were changing history through the books. And according to some of the stories, that there were 2 stories written in those books. And they could find, some people were able to read through it, the invisible portion, the original, and that they would actually have people would pay them to write certain people from that time period into the history as being significant that were never significant. But you wouldn't know that unless you spoke to somebody who lived during those times. That made a lot of sense to me. Rewriting history, even in the books. Not just the digital era where it's really easy now. But yet people want to be on blockchain and assume that everything is recorded. Sorry, just saying. So anyway, we need to consider and be even more attentive to what we ourselves are giving our focused attention and energy to. I'm here to this is my hypothesis and some reflective points upon more probable reality that we have been creating. Like, sit with this. See how this resonates or doesn't. So they cast this spell upon humanity, and everyone is being energetically hijacked. Humanity has been hypnotized and being used to create these scenarios. They have been harvesting our power all along and have convinced us that it's not under our control, when in reality it is. They've just been steering the control. Really, literally. I mean, if you think about maritime admiralty law too, they're steering our ship. They're steering our rudders. You know, we're enslaved through the whole system. The Vatican owns our birth certificates, and oh God, it's disgusting, the whole thing. So pointing finger elsewhere always disempowers you, and it empowers them. So if you're over here thinking it's being done to you, then you're not being able to change anything, because you're not being responsible or accountable to the fact that it really is you doing it to you. But you didn't know that yet until now. See, when you know better, you can do better. And I didn't know this. I didn't know this for a lot of my life, but I always sensed something was off. And a lot of truths have come out over the years. It's actually harnessing the unconscious, subconscious in us to manifest these events. They don't predict. They dictate via the media we consume. And what you consume consumes you. Ooh, sit with that. They dictate through the media what you consume. Through your eyes, your nose, your ears, your mouth. And you're taking it in through your 5 senses. What you focus on grows, and where attention goes, energy flows. So this is something we really need to be more mindful. Movies plant seeds of belief into the unconscious, subconscious where you're actually adopting them to your way of life. It's not predictive programming as much as it is manipulating your power to manifest in the world. Everyone has potential, but we have to be honest with ourselves when we are not, or they are not, living up to that potential. So many of us hold out for the other person to do the right thing at our own behest, our own demise. That's romanticizing. That's codependency. And codependency has been programmed into us as being normalized as well, you know? It's this idea, the romantic idea, the movie, oh, that people will change. And so that's not a healthy form of relationship, expecting someone to change for you. Who wants someone to change for you if they're not willing to do it for themselves? Prove they care, they love us. That's manipulation on both accounts. So again, what we project onto another will come back to bite us in the ass, because what we anticipate, we create. So, yep, this is where we're at in the world. So just always remember, we got 3 fingers pointing back at us when we're ever pointing a finger out. But with all this stuff that's going on in the world, the most important thing we can do is go within and not keep on looking outside of ourselves for answers. That's only going to give us an indicator of what is going on within us, because where your attention is gravitating to is the stuff that you're trying to reject within yourself, right? When you look around yourself and you're like, oh my God, the world is so horrible. And did you see how this thing is happening? Look within yourself and ask yourself, where is this happening within me? Because I'm rejecting it in me for it to show up out there. Once you own it in yourself, things actually calm down around you. When we start healing, I don't even like that word healing. We start remembering who we are. We reclaim our power, reclaim our being. We reemerge as our true self. All that stuff outside of us will clean itself up. Now, I know that one's hard for people to even grasp, because, you know, the state of the world is horrible and all these bad things are happening. And how could God let bad things happen to good people? Again, I'm going to go back to, who the hell are you to even assume that God is allowing anything other than the unfoldings of what is happening? The judgment, the labeling is man, not God. We don't know good or bad. We just know based on our personal experience what we would or wouldn't want done to us. So again, the golden rule will always come into play. Do unto others as you would want done unto you. Even the people who have the most trauma, who go into, let's just say, a serial killer or a pedophile or somebody who abuses another person. Remember, they're acting from that place that that's all they know. That is their trauma, their wound that they are playing out. So I'm not justifying that in any way, shape, or form. I'm using it as the extreme example to basically point out, if you see and notice somebody who is acting out in such a way, that is because it was done to them and that's all they know how to behave. So when someone is doing the most unconscious, unbelievable, like, atrocities, can you only imagine what was done to that person to get them to that point? Most, as they say, and this is psychology, right? Most fetishes come from some form of an abuse, of a trauma in the past. But most people don't really want to confront that in themselves. Sit with that. If you're someone who has a trauma, someone who has a fetish, connect some dots for yourself. I don't need to know. Nobody needs to know. It's nobody else's business. But it's something for you to sit with. We all have had something happen to us. How did it manifest and unfold in our lives? Is it still acting out? Because if we're still unhappy and uneasy with ourselves, not owning all those parts of ourselves, they are owning us. And so sometimes you've had a sexual abuse, there may be a fetish or there may be a certain behavior that you have that is in some way attempting to fix or soothe or comfort that aspect of you that you never truly reclaimed in you. I only speak from personal experience on that one. So I can't use any other examples other than you just got to sit with what you got. Own your choices so they don't own you and haunt you later. When I am in my heart, I realize that when I'm in my head, I'm out of my mind. That's something I have actually sat with, because the other night when I was laying in bed and I was thinking about how would I describe myself? How would I introduce myself? Hi, my name is Lana Labonte. My name in itself, like if you take your name and you do the etymology, you decode your numerology, your birth date, your human design, your cards of destiny, your Enneagram, your Myers-Briggs, there's so many. Chinese astrology, Vietnamese, you know, like look it all up. You do yourself a favor the more you dig deep into knowing your inner workings, because they're pretty much maps and guides into you, the system, the being, the life of you. So when I look at my name and I look at my life, I recognize that, dang, I know I've had some tough cards dealt to me, but I also know lana means wool, which is a trading commodity. Dame la lana, give me the money. I never knew that. Not until, I don't know, let's say 2000. It's probably been about 14, 15 years when I heard that the first time. But la bonté, which is French, and it means the bounty, richness of life, the wellness, like the overall mind, body, spirit of life. And it's also la bonté is what they would call the rich man in French. And I was like, wow, my entire life, everything I have been a part of, everything I have learned that is my passion has been about wellness, has been about overall bounty, reclaiming and exhibiting and living from that place of inner richness. It's not necessarily about the money, people. It really is about you being that high value individual, harnessing your truth, your spirit, like reclaiming your spirit especially, because that's your prana, that's your breath. That you are worthy, that everything you came here to do is your birthright, and you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to do anything and prove yourself. Just be you, authentically, unapologetically, in your truth. You be you, you do you. Ignore all the naysayers, because nobody's going to ever have the vision you have. Even sharing your vision, do it with the right people. People who support it, who don't, in the background, you know, curse you or try to hold you down, or they're jealous or envy. And we have to be able to discern. So again, it's going to go back to trusting ourselves. This is the theme of the year. Learning to discern, to unlearn all the untruths, to reprogram, reclaim ourselves, and to be able to recognize the truth in ourselves is going to give us the ability to see the truth in others. So that people won't be able to take advantage of you, because when you own your truth, you'll see it in everybody else. And then accept people where they're at, not where you want them to be. Because ultimately, people show you. And the whole romanticizing of seeing somebody's soul potential, hey, listen, that was mine for a very long time, but I see their soul potential, but they're not living up to it. Stop telling stories. Stop trying to, you know, oh, that poor person. No, they're a good person. How many times are they going to get one over on you because you weren't owning your own truth? Believe them. And sometimes you got to give them tough love and say goodbye. I can love you, but I don't have to accept and enable stuff that isn't my truth. I hope this resonates for somebody out there. Anyway, I'm already late to the gym. So much love from my heart to yours. I hope this stirs some things in everybody, because ultimately we really need to be more mindful of this. This is where we're at, people. The discernment of where we are harnessed from the creation standpoint. We are the master manifestors here, people. We are the elites. We are the ones who came here to create. Now, the choice is up to you. Are you going to keep on creating the vision they want you to? Or are you going to recognize that it's all in you and you have to choose what you want to do? And that's power, baby. And I believe in you. We got enough of us out here. So much love from my heart to yours. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell because, you know, be kind. And if there's anything else you would like me to discuss and talk about, let me know in the comments. From my heart to yours, I love you.